Welcome everyone back to Weekly Weather Updates, and this evening we're going to look at the latest on the weather models for the potential for quite a summery end to August. It's definitely looking like we're going to be seeing some quite dry and warm weather for many areas, and we could even be seeing a heat wave for the last 7 to 10 days, and we really just need to keep an eye on how these things do develop over the next few days. So do remember, if you enjoyed my videos, make sure you do like and subscribe, and do remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. So we do go through the latest GFS. You can see at the moment we are sort of in between weather systems. We had low pressure that has exited across the country, but we've got low pressure approaching, and we've seen a lot of rain in parts of Republic of Ireland, some drizzly, showery rain moving into northern England, into Scotland, because of this decaying low pressure system. Now it's going to spread eastwards, could bring more drizzle and cloud widely. But at the moment, especially in eastern areas and southern areas, it's dry, fine, sunny, and temperatures getting up to around 23, 24 degrees. However, by Monday, we're in sort of northwesterly airflow, and you can see the upper air temperatures aren't particularly cold, but it's going to be dragging in. Well, they're actually quite warm, in fact, but it's going to be dragging in a lot of low cloud, as we've got quite moist air coming in off the North Atlantic. So it's got a lot of low cloud, showery conditions that we've got to keep an eye on. Might be a little bit miserable in points in some areas, but it's not going to be an absolute deluge. So, especially further south and eastwards. So it doesn't look too bad. Beyond that, as we head to the middle of the week, we do see high pressure start to build in. Just a brief ridge before low pressure tries to push back in. But as it does that towards next weekend, we could be bringing up some hotter air into the path southeast. But beyond that, that low eventually topples over, and then we start to build high pressure in. Now, interestingly, this GFS is a bit against what the majority of the models and the ensembles are doing. It's one of the outliers at the moment. And you can see it builds at high pressure a bit further northwards towards Iceland, and it actually pulls us into a northeasterly airflow. And you can see after that, it does go dry and fine with a lot of high pressure around, but it's not entirely warm, and you can see the hot air is very much constrained to our south and our southeast. So a little bit of an outlier there on the GFS, and it can still show you it's not guaranteed we're going to be seeing hot weather. Definitely, though, it does look very dry and fine. So we just have to keep an eye on how many of these outliers there are. But at the moment, there is decent support for hot and heatwave-like conditions. So if we do have a look at the GM, which is in fact quite a hot run, we've already had a look at this, and we do run through it very similar over the next few days to the GFS with that northwesterly wind moving in. Low pressure trying to push in, but high pressure just takes control, and we go into a southerly airflow, getting through the 10-degree line for pretty much the whole of the British Isles. Extremely warm there, getting the 15-degree isotherm through, potentially in far south, feeling very hot and looking pretty balmy with a big ridge of high pressure and some very warm upper air conditions, looking really quite nice there on this latest GM. If we do just briefly have a look at what those temperatures could equate to when we do have a look on temperature charts, just really briefly. So we do go through towards, we start to put up those southerly winds. You can see temperatures by the next weekend, 25, 26. By Sunday, 26, 27. And then by Monday, things hotting up even more, 27, 28 degrees. Now remember, it will feel hotter than that when we've got widespread sunshine. And it could be locally, of course, getting hotter than that, towards 30 degrees potentially. And feeling very, very nice indeed. Getting up into the mid to high 20s, if not potentially 30 degrees, feeling very, very warm. I know a lot of people will enjoy that. So it's looking pretty decent on this latest GM. Now, it does have a reasonable amount of support from the ECMWF, which is, as many of you probably do know, is probably the best model, the most reliable model that we normally do look at. Now, as we do run through, you can see again that northwesterly wind does build in, and then we do get that low briefly through where the GM did build in high pressure, but behind that, the high pressure does build in. So it's just a little bit delayed to the GFS, but it does show roughly the same pattern. And looking at 10 days out, we see the 15-degree isotherms moving in, and potentially the 20-degree isotherms getting towards northern France, 25-degree isotherms getting out of northern Spain into southern France. So very hot conditions moving up from the south. And if we do have a look at the United Kingdom map, you can see a very balmy airflow moving up all the way from Africa. So fingers crossed for those hot weather fans. We do see something like this, seeing some very hot conditions once again, as we've had pretty miserable last few weeks. I know a lot of people enjoyed thunderstorms at times, but we have really had just too much rain for sort of this time in the summer, and I know some people of course wouldn't like the heat, but it's going to be dry and fine. Probably the last big dry and fine conditions, real hot conditions we could be seeing before next summer. I can't believe it. We will be soon talking about autumn into winter. So if we do have a look at the GFS Ensembles, you can see how the GFS Operational Run was an outlier. You can see it though, at the moment we can stay around average with some precipitation spikes, but nothing massive, as we're not under a massive ridge of high pressure, but we haven't got dominating low pressure. As we head towards the 21st, 22nd, we do see the temperatures start to rise significantly above average, potentially 2, 3, 4 degrees above average, with many ensemble members getting up to around 15 degrees at 850 HPA, if not hotter. You can see there, of course, some outliers along with the GFS Operational Run going just below the mean line, down to around 5 degrees at 850 HPA. And there are some precipitation signals, potentially for a little cut-off low, maybe a few thunderstorms coming up within the ensembles, or sort of small systems. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, of course. It is unlikely that it's going to be completely dry for the last sort of 7 to 10 days of August. It can happen, but it's unlikely. There will probably be some mini low pressure developing, or some upper trough that gives us some thunderstorms. So we'll just have to keep an eye on if that does develop and when that does develop. But it's looking very, very encouraging for some heat wave like conditions for the last 3rd of August. If we do briefly have a look at what Glasgow is showing, just to have a look at what the north, you can see there is a lot of precipitation in the longer term. Now, it's very difficult as we will have sort of westerly winds right at the top of the high pressure system, and it could be bringing in persistent rain, but it will really be in a localised position where that persistent rain does build in, where we see that low pressure trying to push in against the high pressure. Could see a lot of rain, but it could be a long way away from the UK, or it could be right over the top of Scotland. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. It's probably too far out at the moment to say whether it's going to be dry and fine in Scotland, but it's certainly looking like it's going to be at least above average conditions in terms of temperatures. So areas that do see the sunshine, temperatures will be skyrocketing. So it's not guaranteed to be dry at this stage, but it is looking encouraging. That's really what I can say. And you can see, looking at the 850 HPA temperatures, widely getting up into sort of 7, 8, 9, 10 degrees, which would give temperatures into the low to mid-20s, which I know a lot of people would enjoy up in Scotland. So we do briefly go through the ECMWF Ensemble, see how those do support. If we do go out to about 8 days out, you can see high pressure is dominating on many of the ensemble runs. You can see we've got 41% going for this big high pressure, potentially bringing in sort of an easterly wind. Now, that would be dry, fine, wouldn't be entirely hot though. It will still be dragging in some warm air off the near continents, but it won't be that hot, balmy African and sort of Spanish sort of plume that we were seeing in the operational run. 37.3% have got that high pressure, just slightly repositioned, potentially pulling in a more southeasterly wind. And then finally, you've got the operational run, which could be potentially a bit more, have a few more thunderstorms and more rain associated with it, especially further westwards and northwards. It has that high pressure a bit further eastwards and to the southeast, pushing up hot air to our southeast. Now, only 11 of the runs going for that, so you can see the ECMWF Operational Run was a bit of an outlier, with only 10 other ensemble members out of the 50 supporting it, or 50 other ensemble members supporting it. So you can see it is not guaranteed to be a massive Spanish plume, but it's definitely looking warm and dry, with all ensembles really going for a high pressure solution by day 8. If we go to day 12, you can see there's more solutions out there, but generally, most do have high pressure and control. The 11 in the first solution have, again, a Scandinavian high building and easterly winds, which would be warm this time of year. Another 10 have just high pressure over the top of the UK. Another 9 potentially has high pressure a bit further northwards and westwards. Could be pulling in northeasterly winds, so a bit more cool there, but it's probably still dry as well under high pressure. As we see, we've got 8 others with a control run, with high pressure to our north, potentially putting in south or southeasterly winds, feeling pretty pleasant. Then we've got 7, which have got low pressure dominating. A real difference to the other ensemble members. And then finally, we've got 6 with high pressure over the top of the UK. Really just dry, fine weather. Probably not too hot, but still would be relatively warm. So you can see, as we head out to day 12, so getting right towards the end of the run, there are, of course, going to be some ensemble runs that sort of deviate from the high pressure that we are seeing on many of the runs at the moment. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that in the longer term, but that is getting really to the last few days of August, and if we go right to the end, you can see there is a variety of sort of solutions at this stage. So there's not really any point delving too deep into them, as really any of this could happen by sort of day 15. But it is looking very encouraging. So by day 10, sort of 20th to 25th of August, we could be seeing something quite warm and hot. And then even potentially beyond that into the last sort of 5 days of August, still could be pretty hot. But there is a bit more uncertainty on that, as we are still, of course, 2 weeks away from the last few days of August. So if we do finally go through the UKMS Operational Run, just looking at what we could be seeing over the next few days, just in terms of precipitation and temperatures, you can see we've got that rain moving in this evening, but it really is fizzling out, just bringing a bit of drizzle and clouds in many areas as it spreads eastwards. And then through tomorrow, maybe a few showers in the south as the centre of that low eventually dissipates through. Showers in Scotland, of course, as we are close to low pressure. And then through Monday, more showery rain heads in from the northwest. That's that northwesterly wind with quite humid air, a lot of moisture, potentially providing some quite persistent rain at times. And you can see that weather front that moves in with that low pressure to the northeast of the high pressure does move through, and we just go into a really quite showery, sort of dull, drizzly pattern through Monday night through Tuesday, and probably through a bit through Wednesday as well, before many areas further south and east was a bit drier, but still probably could be a lot of cloud around. You can see the showers aren't particularly heavy, but they are potentially quite persistent in some areas. So we'll just have to keep an eye on how those do develop. But at this stage, I wouldn't really worry about any too many issues, just that it might be a little bit miserable at times. So if we do push through, we can see by Sunday, temperatures are going to be again around 22, 23 degrees. Of course, temperature is going to peak where we see the most sunshine, and of course that is favoured further southwards and eastwards, further away from the low pressure. As we head through to Monday afternoon, you can see temperatures again 20, 21 degrees, but because we've got more cloud and some drizzly rain around, it is going to mean temperatures do get suppressed a little bit. Tuesday afternoon, it's going to be a little bit chillier, maybe only 20 degrees in the far south, as again, we've got a lot of cloud, drizzle moving in. Not really horrible weather that you can't do anything, but maybe just a little bit dull and miserable at times. And hopefully many areas, though, remain fairly dry and only see the odd shower here or there. Beyond that into Wednesday, again, looking more encouraging in the south, potentially 21, 22, 23 degrees in a few locations. And then as we get into Thursday, it's looking like things could be starting to improve. We see high pressure starting to build in before the start of the potential sort of hot weather we could be seeing towards the end of the month. So it's looking very interesting for the last 10 days. It's looking encouraging as we've seen of this heat wave sort of pattern. It's been increasing within the ensembles over the last few days, and within the operational runs over the last few days as well. So I'm pretty certain now we're going to be seeing at least something dry and fine, if not potential for some heat wave-like conditions. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Make sure you keep up to date with my videos and the weather warnings if we do see any potentially excess heat warning in some areas, if we do see some sort of Spanish plume, so do keep an eye out for that. So I'll see you again for another video soon.